Here's how the story goes. We find out about a treasure in the grand line. There's no doubt. The pirate whose eye is on it, he'll sing. I'll be king of the pirates. I'm gonna be king.
Hey guys, King of Charmanders here, and today I bring to you a video on the best weapon type tier list before Season 5. So Season 5 actually made a whole lot of changes. So first we're going to take a look at where weapon types measure up as of Roars from the Winterwind. As I mentioned before, this tier list is before the weapon rebalancing. So there's a lot of weapon changes. A lot of them were actually buffs rather than like nerfing anything. But again, before Season 5's. And this tier list is based off of data and performances of weapon types, not personal preference. I do not rate something because I feel like it's better. It factually must be better. Even though I haven't published in a while, I've been doing number crunching and still do number crunching and looking at content and whatnot. So these are still pretty consistent despite the fact that there have been some changes. And even with the rebalancing in Season 5, you're not going to see too much changing or any changes after I make the video. Post this list.
You savage! Blockhead!
Idiot.
Three-sword style.
Saying three-sword style isn't an insult, Luffy.
Alright, let's get this party started. Starting off with the C tier, and there's only one weapon in the C tier, which unfortunately is the Lance. Its prior rank was C, and its current rank is still C. In other words, it still sucks. The thing is, while the Lance received a buff last in the Vernal Invader, it is still the worst weapon in the game. This is because even though you poke everything to death, the thing about Monster Hunter now, it's all offense. Forcing you to invest in defense, making the most out of the power guard mechanic for the Lance, isn't the best idea. And that's why, if you want to kill something or hunt something as fast as possible, you need offense. And that's just how Monster Hunter now is. Sadly, unless the Lance is like given some like one-shot super kill ability or a super weapon that just makes it poke at obscene rates, you're not going to see the Lance go anywhere higher than a C, unfortunately. Moving on, we have the B tier, which has the Greatsword in it. Its prior rank is B and its current rank is B. And the thing is, the Greatsword has not received any buffs or nerfs prior to Season 5. Now, don't get me wrong, B doesn't mean it's bad, it's just like right in the middle. The thing about the Greatsword, it hits hard, but it requires a lot of patience and technique for charge attacks and the shoulder tackle. Literally, it's rinse and repeat. Shoulder tackle, charge attack, or charge to level 3, shoulder tackle, etc. And although you see big numbers, the thing about the Greatsword is that if you miss, it really sucks. So, you're going to need to be really good and play nearly perfectly. As you see, a lot of content out there actually requires you to perfect dodge and use aggressive dodger. That's how you get the most out of the Greatsword. And you actually need to know monster positioning and attack patterns pretty well to put yourself in the best spot to use the Greatsword. Because of all this technicality and just the super specific things you need to do in order to make the Greatsword great, unfortunately, it's not going to go higher than a B unless it just starts one-shotting everything to oblivion. And now we have almost the best of the best, which doesn't mean that they're bad or that you shouldn't use these. These are actually really dang good. Along with the Greatsword, these are just a step above the Greatsword, or they just are really that good. So the A tier. First off, you have the Sword and Shield. Its prior rank before it was buffed or anything like that, was a C, but now it's an A, because it received a buff in the Vernal Invader. It is the first and the simplest weapon to use in the game. And the thing is, the Sword and Shield also has the ability to stun monsters with its shield bash attacks. The buff from before actually made this a lot more viable, and the thing is, the Sword and Shield to this day in history, until future references than bows, it actually has a super weapon, which is the Mr. Beast Sword and Shield. Because it has its special ability, where it explodes every time you use certain actions, in other words, the Falling Shield Bash, and its special attack, it's currently the most powerful raw melee weapon in the game, being able to take out things like Kushala Diora solo, and do a lot of other crazy things. So yes, the Sword and Shield, while it used to be at the bottom, now it is here, and now it is good. And speaking of things that can stun, the next up we have the Hammer. Its prior rank was A, and its current rank, well, it's still A, which means it's really good. And it has not received any buffs or nerfs as of pre-Season 5. Now the thing is, the Hammer has a built-in smack ability, as in you can stun if you target the head, and you can smack monsters into submission. And although it's slow, it can deal large amounts of damage, especially when used with other players with paralysis/stun skills. And this is why I love it, because Hammer Bros / girls, etc., you are the mains I love the most when I'm trying to get rarity 6s from things like Kushala Diora and Teostra. Because you've wanted a Hammer Bro or main or anyone on your team if you know you need to break one or both horns or the head, because when you do so, it's super easy to do with a hammer, bro. Especially like, you just one spec and then bam. So for those of you that have helped me out with my 2 10-5 Elder Dragon weapons, I salute you, because I really do appreciate your work and effort and sacrifice and time for yeah, you guys are awesome. Speaking of good, just because I love it, it's the light bowgun at A tier. Its prior rank is A and its current rank is A. And the last known buff the LBG received was in the Vernal Invader. Now the thing that's cool about the light bowgun is that perfect dodging can reload or add in additional ammo. And what makes the light bowgun so good is that its movement and flexibility, which makes it a high tier range weapon. Which is what kind of I wish a lot of things the heavy bowgun had, but I'm gonna talk about that later. But the thing about the light bowgun is that it requires you to max out recoil down level 3 and reload speed level 3. So if you want to make the most bang out of your light bowgun, well, you're going to need to invest in quite a bit of gear before you get good at it. Or not get good at it, or rather it's whether it's maximum goodness for you. And speaking of things with gun in it, in A tier you have the gun lance. Its prior rank was A and its current rank is A. And it was the new weapon type introduced in Dancing in the Tempest. However, the thing about the gun lance is that there's a lot of variety to it. Well, not a lot. There's actually 2 main things you're going to do. The worm stake shot, cannon, or the charge gun lance style. For the worm stake shot, it is able to quickly proc status effect buildups quickly when you're using status element weapons like paralysis and poison, making it absolutely amazing. Along with that, the charge gun lance style is still the ultimate cheese strategy in the game, as though I've hated it. Even though I dislike it with many other players. You know what? It's been here forever. Whatever. Just use it if you want to use it. It doesn't really hurt my back unless I'm trying to finish something that I need to finish and you're not doing enough. Yeah. But yeah, it's here to stay. And you know what? It's A tier simply just because, again, you can cheese your way through the entire storyline if you get it, if you use it. However, the things you want to use, if you don't want cheese and you want something that's actually tryhard, well, tryhard is Charge Blade, because its prior rank was A and its current rank was A. And the Charge Blade has received no buffs or nerfs as of pre-season 5. But it still hails as the most technical weapon type in the game, so if you're not trying to tease and you're actually trying to be really, really dang good, the Charge Blade is for you. As it has guard points. And guard points allow you to time perfect guards and stay aggressive during hunts. However, this requires you to know most attack patterns from monsters to master guard point timing, because if you mess up, you're going to take damage and possibly use one of your potions, which you don't ever want to do, or your first healing, your first aid meds, etc., whatever you have at your disposal. And for at your disposal, you have the heavy bowgun, which actually was something I had a lot of fun with, as its prior rank was A and its current rank was A. And unfortunately, it hasn't received a buff as of pre-season 5. Now the thing about the heavy bowgun, you can deal heavy amounts of damage at the sacrifice of mobility to Haggis's shield. So you can't do straight firing or anything cool like that like you do in the main series games, but it's still really dang good, and again, you can deal a ton of damage. If you're used to using that shield, it's great. Along with the things that make the light heavy bowgun great is that not all the builds require reload speed and recoil down at level 3. Some need only recoil down at level 1, and you need even less for some heavy bowguns. But yes, that's what makes the heavy bowgun good, and if you use it, it's probably shredding through everything, especially if you use it in group hunts. And last but not least for the A tier, we have the most recent release, where we have the Switch Axe. Its prior rank was none, and its current rank is A. Now, the thing is, the Switch Axe is, again, the most recently released weapon as of Roars of the Winterwind. This season, we did not have a new weapon release for Season 5. So we're just gonna have to wait for the future. For those of you that are wondering, there's only 2 left. So yeah. But this is essentially an upgrade of the Greatsword. Its damage output's pretty much not on par with the Charge Blade, but it's like the Charge Blade for the most part, as far as being able to transform, and a technical weapon with many ways to attack. While you don't have to guard point as much, there's a lot of things you need to know with the Switch Axe, like range, but if you do it very well, and you master the weapon very well, you can do a ton of damage in a short amount of time. So, while not belonging in the S tier, the Switch Axe is factually an incredibly good weapon, and if it were not for the Greatsword needing very specific things in order for it to just massively mollywop everything in its sight, that it would definitely, basically the Greatsword would be in A rank. And finally, now we are moving on to the S tier, the best of the best, the cream of the crop, the ultimates of ultimates. Of course, starting off with the S tier, we have the Dual Blades, where its prior rank was S and its current rank is S. So the thing is, the Dual Blades last received a buff in Dancing in a Tempest. In fact, this thing is far from a bust, as the Dual Blades allows you to hack and slash away in demon mode, and is the only weapon type that can do damage while dodging. Because of its ability to just hack and just destroy things in its sight left and right, it also requires a bit of skill because you can take damage while trying to go after Demon Blade Dance and its long combos, but this weapon is able to easily activate Burst. Because of its ridiculous DPS destruction, and the fact it has one of the coolest ultimates in the game, or special skills if you want to get more technical, the Dual Blades is definitely belonging in the S tier. But the Dual Blades is not alone, as there is another melee weapon in the S tier, and that is the Longsword, where its prior rank was S, and it's still S. Now the thing is, the Longsword did not receive any buffs or nerfs pre-Season 5. The Ice Spirit Gauge grants Longsword a huge damage boost when it is full. This is the only weapon where you have a mechanic that boosts your attack by a ridiculous amount as long as you meet its requirements, and it lasts for a pretty long time. In addition to that, the Longsword is the only weapon that has a technique that can counter nearly every monster attack in the game and nullify damage. For those two specific things alone, the Longsword is S tier and has been the samurai love of the Monster Hunter series for a long time, and it's still that good. And last but not least, we have the King of all kings, the weapon type of all weapon types, the thing that has been really good since the beginning and has the most powerful weapons in the game. Of course, it's the bow. With its power rank as S, its current rank as S, and if it had its own tier, it'd probably be on its own. Now, the bow hasn't received any buffs pre-Season 5, but honestly, it doesn't need it. If you buff this thing anymore, I don't know. And it has multiple damage types that allow you to play different styles: Spread, Rapid, and Pierce. And the thing is, the charge sidestep allows you to dodge attacks and charge levels at the same time. That's what makes the bow so good. You have the ultimate mobility, as well as just the ability to deal an obscene amount of damage in a short amount of time. Along with that, the fact that the Black Diablos bow / Sarah Coilbender is currently the strongest raw weapon in the game, and many other bows are super weapons, beating every other weapon in its category. For example, Silver Rathalos bow, best fire weapon in the game. Kushala bow, best ice weapon in the game. So on and so forth. You get it. The bow is good. It's always been good. And Monster Hunter now and its staff knows this, because if you looked at the first anniversary picture, there is a picture of Sarah Coilbender on there. They know what they're doing. And that's it. If you've been here for a while, you probably already know what the tier list is, or you have the weapon that you prefer. However, if you're brand new, or if you're still rising to the top, it's advisable to master one weapon before you go on to others and maxing one weapon first. For example, if you're going after Sarah Coilbender or a Great Wall weapon, definitely go after that first, or Poison. And the thing is, just because you feel like a weapon type is better than another doesn't mean it factually is. This is the problem with the Monster Hunter franchise player base in general. Or just, yeah. The thing is, Monster Hunter, if your weapon, everyone swears that their weapon type, or most of them, is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Sadly, it is not. Just punch in the numbers, and you'll clearly see that the bow rises above everything else, or that the dual blades and the longsword can dish out a ton more damage than a lot of other weapon types. Of course, it depends if it's close range versus long range, but we're not going to get into that. But yes, doesn't take that much to figure it out. If you've been doing this for a while like I have, and you've been doing analysis like for Pokemon Go PvP plus this for like years, it's not that hard. Well, it can be. It can be very complicated. But with that being said, please do me a huge favor. Like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. I will have the video on the updated tier list with the new buffs from Season 5 coming soon. Look out for that. Good luck on your grinds, and I will see y'all on the next video.